upstream in the backseat of a small field taxicab. The driver, a chin-smoked, sweet little man, introduced himself as Gotham, drove nonchalantly, and a little past red brick buildings or Peshawar University were entered in Marawi Garulu's driver referred to as Afghan town. As such, sweet shops and carpet vendors, kabob stalls, kids with dirt-caked hands selling cigarettes, tiny restaurants, maps of Afghanistan painted in their windows, and intercalate with basket aid agencies. Many of our brothers in this area they are opening business, but most of them are very poor. Poor. The tsk at his tongue and his sight. Anyway, we're getting so close now. Check the address on the piece of stationery paper in my palm note. They think made skin and bones pretending Rahin can't open the door. A creative writing teacher at San Jose State used to say about cliches, avoiding them like a pledge. Then he'd laugh at his own joke. The class laughed along with him, but I always thought cliches got a bad rap because of because often they are dead on. But the aptness of the cliches saying is overshadowed by the nature of saying the cliche. For example, elephants in the room, saying nothing could more correctly describe initial moments of my reunion with Ibrahim Khan. We saw the wispy mattress set along the wall across the window, overlooking the noisy street below. Sunlight slanted in a kind of triangular watch of light onto the Afghanistan rug on the floor. Two folding cars rest against a wall, and a small Cooper samovar sat in the opposite corner. I poured out tea from it. "How did you find me?" I asked. "It's not difficult to find people in America." I brought a map of the U.S. and called up for information. I called up information for citizens in Northern California. He said, "Isn't it wonderful and strange to see you as a grown man?" I smiled and dropped 3 sugar cubes in my tea. He liked his black and his bitter, I remember. Baba didn't get the chance to tell me you, but I got married 15 years ago. The truth was, by then, the cancer Baba brain had made him forgettable, negligent. "You married? To whom?" "Tahiri." "Whose daughter is she?" I told him, his eyes bright. "Oh yes, I remember now. Is General Tahiri's married to Sharif, Jan's sister?" "What was her name?" "Jamila Khan." "Belay," he said smiling. "I knew Sharif Jan in Kabul a long time ago, before he moved to America. He has been working in the INS for years, handles a lot of Afghan cases." "Hi," he signed. Do you do you as Raya John have children?" "Aye." "Oh." He slurped his tea and didn't ask more. Rahim Khan had always been one of the most inquisitive people I'd ever met. I told him I love about Baba, his job, his flea market, and how at the end he died happy. Told him about my schooling, my books for published novels, to my credit now. To my credit now. He smiled at this, said he had never had any doubt. I told him that had written short stories in the leader bound notebook he'd given me, but he didn't remember the notebook. The conversation inevitably turned to the Taliban. "Is it has been Is it as bad as I hear?" I said. "No, it's worse, much worse," he said. Don't let you hum. They don't let you be human." pointed his card above his right eye, getting a crunk path through his bashful eyebrow. It was a soccer game in Ghazi Stadium in 1998, Kabul against Masar Sharif. I was a soccer game, I think. By the way, the players weren't allowed to wear shorts. It's exposed, I guess. He have started off. Anyway, Kabul scored a goal and the man next to me cheered loudly. Suddenly, his young bird fellow, who was patrolling his aces, a 10-year-old at most by the look of him, he walked up to me and struck me to the forehead with the bat and his Kalashnikov. Did it again, and I'll cut your tongue, you old donkey, he said. Rahim Khan rubbed his cradle finger. It was old enough to be his grandfather, and I was sitting there, blood gushing down my face, apologizing to that son and his dog. I poured him more tea. Rahim Khan took some more. Much of any already some nuts. He told me that, as arranged between Baba and him, he had lived in Baba's house since 1981. This I knew about. Baba had sold the house from Rahim Khan shortly before he had and I fled Kabul. The way Baba had seen those days Afghanistan troubles were only a temporary interruption of our way of life. The days of parties and the Wazir Khan house of picnics in Pakman would certainly return. So he'd given the house to Rahim Khan to keep watch until that day. Rahim Khan told me how, when the North Alliance took over Kabul between 1992 and 1996, different factions came different parts of Kabul. If you went from the Shar e Now section or Kete Parkway to buy a carpet, you'd risk getting shot a sniper or getting blown by a rocket. If you got past all the checkpoints, that was. You practically need a visa to go from one neighbor to another. So people just stay put, pray the next rocket wouldn't hit their home. He told me how people knock holes in the walls for their homes so that they could bypass the dangerous streets and wouldn't move down the block from the hole to hole. In other parts, people move about in the underground tunnels. Why did you leave? I said. Kabul was my home. It still is, he snickers. Remember the street when went from your house to the Kishla, the military barracks next to its school? Yes, it was a shortcut to school. I remember the day Hassan and I crossed it, and the soldiers had teased Hassan about his mother. Hassan had cried in the cinema later. I put an arm around him. When the Taliban rolled in the kick the Allies out of Kabul, I actually danced in the street, Rahim Khan said. And believe me, I wasn't alone. People were celebrating at Shama, then Dek Masang, greeting the Taliban in the streets, claiming their tanks and posing for pictures with them. People were so tired from the constant fight, tired for the rockets and the gunfire, the explosions, tired for the watching, the gold body, and his cohorts firing on anything that moved. The Allies did move damage to Kabul and the Sahrawi. They destroyed your father's orphanage. They destroyed your father's orphanage. Do you know that? Why? I said. Why did they destroy the orphanage? I remember sitting behind Baba. They had opened the orphanage. With one knocked off of Karakum, had everyone had laughed. They stood and clapped when he delivered his speech, and now it was just another pile of rubble. And all the money Baba had spent, all those nights he sweated over the blueprints, all the visits to the construction, the site to the market, sure every brick, every beam, every block was laid just right. He shrugged and coughed again. "Don't think I'll see the end of this summer," he said. "Let me take you home with me. I can find you a good doctor," said, coming up with new treatments in all time. "There are new drugs and experimental treatments. He could roll me in you. We could roll you in one." It was rambling, and I knew it. But it was better than crying, which I was probably going to do anyway. He let out a shout of laughter, revealing Mrs. Lowers in scissors. It was the most tired laugh I'd ever heard. "I see America has infused you with the optimism that has made her so great. That's very good. We're melancholic for people with guns, aren't we? Often we wallow too much in gam-cody and self-pity. We have to we have into loss to suffering, accept it, and fact of time. Even see it as necessary. Sengadi misgawa, we say. Life goes on, but I'm not sorely to fade her. I am being pragmatic. I've seen several times good doctors where they have given the same answer. Trust them and believe them. There's such thing as God's will. There's only what to do and what you don't do, I said. Rahim laughed. You sound like your father just now. I wasn't alone for all of them. Hassan lived there with me. "Hassan?" I said. When was the last time I had spoken his name? Those thorny old barbs of guilt bored into me once more, as if speaking his name had broken a spell. Sent them free to turn me anew. Suddenly the rain Rahim Khan little flat was too thick, too hot to reach with the smell of the street. "I thought about writing you and telling you before, but I wasn't sure of what you wanted to know. Was I wrong?" The truth was no. The look was yes. Settle for something in between. I don't know. He cooked another patch of blood into a handkerchief. When he bent his head to spin, I saw honey-crusted stores on his scalp. "I brought you here because I'm going to ask you some. I'm going to ask something of you. I'm going, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. But before I do, I want to tell you about Hassan. Do you understand?" "Yes," I murmured. "I want to tell you about him. I want to tell you everything. You will listen?" I knew. Then Rahim Khan sipped some more tea, rested his head against the wall, and spoke.